drank every single day for 15 years. And then I did what a lot of exhausted middle aged women are doing. I got sober, didn't drink a drop of alcohol for over 3 years. I even became a sober coach and helped other women stop drinking, which is exactly how I learned that sobriety is just part of the all or nothing cycle. In this video, I will explain how adopting a less is more mindset actually restores your control over alcohol because you can finally see yourself as somebody who prefers drinking in moderation. And by the way, I'm Colleen, and I'm a mindful drinking coach. My step-by-step process has helped thousands of very successful women reduce their drinking by about 80%, and it doesn't require you to quit. In fact, it's actually better if you don't. But I will tell you up front that my approach is not for everybody. Learning how to control your drinking requires you to believe that it's actually possible for you to change. It is so tempting to just surrender to the idea that you're one of those people that just can't handle drinking. And that is exactly why this is a thinking problem, not a drinking problem. But if you're coachable and willing to do the work, and you're looking for a no bullshit approach, then go ahead and subscribe to my channel. I was always a big partier in college. And I carried the partier identity right into my life as a mom and a career professional. And for a long time, I didn't see that as a problem because it didn't slow me down. I wasn't proud of the fact that I drank at least a bottle of wine every single night, but I didn't see anything wrong with it. Honestly, I saw my drinking as a privilege. It was a celebration of the good life. I saw it as a reward for all of my hard work. My grandma used to say, always eat on the good plates. Treat yourself as your most honored guest. And I translated that to mean that I deserve a top shelf vodka martini on a Monday night. I had 4 kids. I worked full time. I taught hot power yoga and boot camp, and I ran marathons on the weekends. I was always busy helping other people. Alcohol was just my medicine. It was how I shut down my brain in the evening. Drinking was me time. And looking back, I can see how I was at least kind of addicted to alcohol in the sense that whenever I told myself I wasn't going to drink, I still ended up drinking. Because in our culture, if you admit that you drink too much, any licensed professional is going to tell you you have to stop drinking. You have to go to AA, get a sponsor, and then start apologizing to all the people around you for all the damage you've done. And I didn't want to take the blame for all the problems in my marriage or have my kids have to talk about how their mom's an alcoholic. And I certainly didn't want other people telling me what to do or having to worry that my friends wouldn't trust me anymore. So I just struggled alone and in silence. I quit trying to quit and just managed what I saw as my handicap. And the way I did that was I just stayed really busy because the busier I was, the less I was able to drink. But when COVID hit, all that busyness went away. I wasn't working. I didn't have to drive anywhere. And the only thing my kids needed from me, they were teenagers at the time, was the damn Wi-Fi password. Within a few weeks of lockdowns, I was drinking almost a fifth of vodka a day. And one Tuesday morning, I woke up and realized that the only thing worse than the idea of quitting drinking was the idea of not quitting drinking. So I called the AA hotline and told on myself, I need help. Please, dear God, somebody just tell me what to do. Make it stop. And that's when my sober journey began. And in my all or nothing fashion, I fully embraced my new identity as a recovering alcoholic. I went to AA meetings almost every day, wore all of these sober as fuck t-shirts, and started preaching to everybody I know that alcohol is a toxic poison. And for a few months, it was awesome. I looked better. I felt better. I enjoyed falling asleep sober. It felt so good to wake up without a hangover, and I got so much more done. But then I hit the skids. I felt like a slug. With nothing to hide and no reward at the end of the day, I lost my motivation and sense of purpose. Because as a highly productive person, patting myself on the back for not drinking just stopped feeling like an accomplishment. Then there was this moment when I was at my parents' house. It was Christmas, and my dad opened a bottle of wine and offered my brother a glass. And when he uncharacteristically turned it down, I, being the sober representative of my family, asked, "Oh my God, did you get a DUI? Why aren't you drinking?" And my brother rolled his eyes at me with a shitty look that only a brother can give you and get away with it. And he said, "Saying no to a glass of wine does not indicate that I have a drinking problem. In fact, it may indicate that I don't have a drinking problem." That moment felt like a glitch in the matrix. I realized that I was still identifying as somebody with a drinking problem, even though I hadn't had a drink in 3 years. I realized that I was stuck in a story that was no longer true and no longer serving me. Meanwhile, like I said, I had started a coaching business helping other women get sober, quit drinking. And after almost 2 years of doing that, I realized two things. Number one, most of my clients were not actually staying sober, but they were hiding it. There was no way to talk about it because the goal of the program was to stay sober, and they just had to internalize again that they weren't doing it right. Something was wrong. And the second thing I noticed was that even the women that did stay sober and collected their 12 weeks of sobriety trophy at the end of the program often fell right back into their old habits because they hadn't learned the tools to actually moderate. So when I had that experience at my parents where I realized this is just a story we're telling ourselves, I asked my question, what if there is actually no right way to drink? What if alcohol is not the problem? What if it's the story we've been telling ourselves that once an alcoholic, always an alcoholic, because you can't unpickle your cucumber? I started doing research and discovered, according to the CDC website, that a lot of people meet the clinical threshold for addiction for alcohol at some point in their life. But most people are able to return to moderate drinking without a relapse in addiction. The only people who truly struggle are the ones that get brainwashed into believing that there's a difference between alcoholics and normal drinkers. In fact, the number one prediction of addiction in the future is not genetics, it is not childhood trauma, it is not family or environment or anything else. It's the belief that there's a difference between alcoholics and normal drinkers, and that for whatever reason, you're one of those people that just can't handle it. It's the belief. It's not the alcohol itself that's causing the problem. The truth that we all know from living in the society where you can get addicted to almost anything on any given day is that addiction is fairly easy to overcome once you address the root causes. We self correct from sugar, coffee, nicotine, even our phones, all on our own. Once we get sick of the negative consequences and realize that the juice isn't worth the squeeze, we self correct our behavior. So it's not hard to overcome an addiction once the negative consequences start piling up. What's hard to overcome is the identity of someone who sees themselves as an alcoholic, because believing that you can't stop once you start is a self-fulfilling prophecy. And so that's when my mindful drinking program was born. I help women reduce their drinking by about 80% or whatever feels right for them so that alcohol can go back to being an occasional pleasure instead of a soul sucking problem. And the way we do that is to focus on identity based change instead of behavior based change, because you don't do or not do anything that doesn't align with how you see yourself. Behavior is just the tip of the iceberg. You know that 95% of the iceberg is below the water. And what's below the surface of your behavior is the thoughts and the feelings and your beliefs and your identity. One of the main reasons that I got sucked into the habit of over drinking, that I had trouble self correcting when it first became a problem, is that I saw myself as somebody who had an addictive personality. But it turns out addictive personality is not even a real thing. Google it if you don't believe me. Even addiction experts agree there is no such thing as an addictive personality. We've just made that up. But making shit up is very, very powerful. You have to understand how the brain works. It's an evidence-seeking machine. And if it can't find evidence of whatever you believe is true, it will literally just make it up. That's exactly how I came to believe that I can't stop once I start. Even though if that had been true, I would have been dead. Of course I stopped. I stopped every night when I started feeling sick or slurry. I did stop on a regular basis, especially if I had to drive or if I had to get up early and I didn't want a puffy face, or if I was at a party and I wanted to impress certain people. I did know how to stop. That's why my strategy to just stay really busy worked so well, because I believed that I could control myself when I had to. I only overdrank when I thought I could get away with it. So one day, I asked my brain to show me evidence that I'm actually a less is more person. And it did. I started noticing times when I just ate half a cookie or stopped after one cup of coffee and then had some water. I noticed that I actually prefer to watch one or two episodes of my show as opposed to binging the whole season because I don't like how I feel when I eat too much sugar or drink too much caffeine or sit on the couch too long. I end up feeling like a slog, like I'm not productive. I don't like that feeling. What I realized when I started thinking, am I a less is more person, is oh my gosh, I actually prefer to live in balance. I like to feel good. I had just never noticed that before because I was so busy telling myself this story in the context of alcohol that I have an addictive personality. But even the fact that I had quit drinking for 3 years proves that I had the ability to self correct. I hadn't been a victim of uncontrollable urges. I had just thought I was. I had had a thinking problem, not a drinking problem. And here's the truth. If you're stuck in a cycle of over drinking, you do need help. You just have to be really careful who you ask for help. Going into a sober community can be a short term solution. The problem is that once you get your confidence back and realize that not drinking is not a real purpose in life, you're still going to have to deal with your all or nothing mindset and the identity of the addictive personality, or you're going to quickly fall back into old habits. Drinking in moderation is actually a natural side effect of feeling grounded and confident and like you're in control of your own time and energy. And it's a side effect of you taking good care of yourself. So this isn't just about mindset. You do have to take better care of yourself. I'm not suggesting that you can bullshit your way into behavior change. Right now, alcohol is serving a purpose for you. It's a coping mechanism. You just have to understand that it's not actually alcohol that you crave. What you crave is the feeling that alcohol gives you. For me, I craved a sense of relief from feeling like I had to be productive all of the time. It wasn't my off switch that was actually broken. Alcohol was my off switch. And I had to do a lot of work to learn how to manage my mind and regulate my nervous system so that I didn't feel like I had to numb my brain and escape my own body. And so, if any part of my story sounds familiar, if you're disciplined in every area of your life except for this one, and if you have promised yourself 1,000 times never again, only to keep repeating the same mistake over and over, I want you to know something. You're not an alcoholic. The reason you drink like one is because you have developed the bad habit of shortchanging yourself in the self care department. And now it doesn't feel safe for you to ask for help. But there is help. I can help. I'm a master life coach and I'm certified in addiction and recovery. And I have cracked the code for alcohol use disorder, specifically for how it affects high achieving women. And it's taken me 5 years, but I have finally built the program that I needed when I was drinking heavily every day and thought the only thing I could do about that was to call AA. But I'm not going to lie. My approach is only for women who are willing to challenge their own bullshit and take full responsibility for where they're at and where they want to be and what they need to get there. You're in the bad thinking habit of listening to your brain tell you all these reasons why you don't have enough time or energy to take better care of yourself. And that's just not the truth. That's a toxic limiting belief. That's why you're stuck. And that's why you need coaching. So if you're ready to change for real and you want to learn more about my program and what it's like to work with me, then apply for a discovery call. There's a link in the show notes.